Yo guys, it's TheLQ-Gaming here. Today I'm going to talk to you about things you should consider when you are doing a base tour video for YouTube. This is a video I've considered doing for quite a while now, and I just thought I'd share with you what my personal tips would be for doing base tours. If you're obviously, as you've noticed on my YouTube channel, doing base is something I've always enjoyed doing, playing DC Universe Online. Especially so since I got PS4 back in 2016. You'll see a lot of base tours on my YouTube channel and bases that I've been working on. And in this video I'll be showing you both some of my current bases and some of my future bases that I'll be working on as well, and things that I've considered when doing these and approaching these. The first tip I'd want to give you about if you're going to create a base in DC Universe Online is make sure you research your base theme really well. Make sure you know everywhere you can place a base item or not and work around that, and that's kind of going to be very key to how your base is going to plan out going forward. This is a base that's pretty much empty. It's going to be a base later on once the new episode comes out, because I'm going to theme it a little bit around Thanagar. Some of the base items in that look amazing, and I can't wait to kind of work on that and show you what I'm going to do with this base going forward. It's going to be my first Penthouse base theme, so again this is kind of quite fresh in that I haven't really done a base in this particular base theme before, and I'm going to show you where you can place base items and where you cannot. So I want to go to my decorator. So you just have to kind of go around each little part. So this little pillar here, you can put something on. See, I can put that on there. So that little pillar bit, you can't always do this, but some base items you can. So just kind of work with that. Look at these little pillars, look at the every little part of the base and what you can do with it. Here, no, you can't place a base item on that. I mean, some layout themes you can, some you can't. This is one of those ones that you can't do. So if I go to one of these pillars, if I type in poster. Okay, so this is an older base item from the beginning of the monthly content era we had in DC Universe Online. So I can't place this on this pillar. Okay, you can only place base items on there that maybe are newer, or like for example this one, you can place on it. You see, you can place that on this particular pillar, and that kind of becomes really important going forward with where you're going to take this base. If I go down here, you see there's a little bit of a clip here. You see that? And you can, there's an arrow pointing underneath that little, it's like a bit of a steppy thing going over the pillar. So I can put something under this. Okay, that won't fit. Let's find something smaller, like a banner. Nope, it won't go either. But I mean, some of their themes it will go, so it's definitely something to be considering if you're going to do this kind of base. Let me have a look. Is there anything I can put on there just to show you? No, it needs to be from here. Yeah, this one's a bit trickier because like I say, this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. So you need to research everywhere you can place a base item in this base, everywhere. Pillars, the little bits here. This is something I kind of showed when I did that Snow Cathedral base in progress video I did just after I uploaded Snow Cathedral on Tidal last winter. That's kind of very relevant here because you want to be able to research everywhere you can place a base item in the layer theme, and it will be different for each layer theme because some you can and some you cannot. Okay, here's a really good example. You've got this little bit, bumpy bit here, this wooden bit here. So you've got an arrow pointing there. If I find something smaller to put there, is there anything smaller I can put there? No, not that one. Find something really small. So that control box I can put there. on the side of this. You wouldn't suspect it, but you can put something there. So that could be quite important if you're going to place a much bigger base item there that can actually go there. Let me see if I've got any of my winter base items left, like my frozen waterfalls. No, I don't. Okay. Anything price related? So like the size of these steps here, I can put the ice waterfall here. Yeah, here. So wherever it goes green, you can place it. So that might be an idea. If you're working on a base and you'll find something to go along those stairs, like a banister or something to like lean, if you're like say leaning towards it, as it were, then you can put that there, for example. And you can work with that idea. You can build on it. But yeah, just the overall point is make sure you're researching where you can place base items, because you might find surprises. Some good, some not so good, but it's trial and error. There we go. There's another thing. You can place it underneath underneath the stairs. You've got these little bumps here. You can put base items on. Again, you can work on that. Easily done. Okay, so building from my point about working with researching your base and your base theme where you can put base items. This is my Snowy Cathedral base that I done on Emperor Tidal late last year for Christmas. This is a base this is an ice base I've been wanting to work on for quite a long time. They pulled off really good base items last year with the Christmas seasonal, and I managed to really do a good job of. I mean, this is a Gothic theme base. You would never, unless you really looked really hard, you would never suspect this was a Gothic theme base, because it just looks like it's in a completely different instance, a new world. And like I said, that came from lots of research. I had to really research into the base and where I could put a base item, where I couldn't. For example, here I can't place a base item, which is why this is clear. Otherwise I would have covered it in ice as well. Over here, again, I could have probably put something else there, maybe another ice wall or something, but there would have been blank points, so I really wanted to make sure as much of the base was covered in ice as possible. But again, building from my point, make sure you do research your base layer theme really well. And even down here, if I go up here, back in Penthouse layer theme, you couldn't place base items on those little pillars and those archways inbuilt into the base. Here you can. You've got this tiny little bar here, you could put a base item in that, because the arrow is there. So that is kind of quite important, because you could create a whole archway or a whole area dedicated to that particular area. So that's very impressive if you can do that, but not many people will know about that, and I'm just sort of drawing your attention. And even like these tiny little areas here, you can put a base item on that. So, and you can, even some of the bigger base items you wouldn't suspect, research into them, because some of them might actually go there, they might actually fit, and then you end up with a completely different world you're creating within your base. So research really pays off. If you're really into base decorating, the research really pays off, okay? So one thing you can consider when you are starting to make a base is what base items you're going to put in that base. Is there going to be a particular base item that's going to feature quite heavily in that base? For example, I'm in LQ Armory. I created this base a few years back, and as you can see, I've used a lot of candle sign base items. These are featured quite heavily through the base, particularly in this particular area. Candle sign base items dropped from Darkside's SHAREfactory raid, Rain Manor Gala Duo, Candle Central Tower raid, so content like that, this is where they all drop. So if you are theming around a particular base item, this is a particular thing you should consider. Also bear in mind that if you're planning ahead for bases, you're definitely going to want to farm these and save these up ready, because if you have a time limit on when your base is going to be finished by and you don't have much of these base items, that's going to kind of be an issue for you. So I'd highly recommend that if you are going to do a base themed around a particular base item, that you farm that content regardless of whether you need that base item or not, and you have it stored in your bank or your shared bank on an alt, and you can use it then towards a base later on. Otherwise you might find yourself with a bit of a problem, and you may have to rethink what base you're going to do. This is another such example of a base I've worked on in the past. You might recognise it, it's Black Castle. It has had a few updates since that particular base tour. I'm sure many of you watched it and enjoyed watching it. But again, if you're running that same concept with candle signs, it may also drop Art Deco columns. I did a Thinking Outside the Box episode on these. These are very rare drops from Darkside's War Factory, from Iceberg Lounge Solo, content like that. They drop very rarely. They are rarely seen on a broker as well. So again, if you're farming particular content, be sure to gather these up and put them in your bank, your shared bank, or on alts, and save them for later, because they are very, very rare, and you might have a bit of a hard time getting hold of them if you really need if you need them for a base right now. You're going to be out of luck. So highly recommend, if you are going to run content for more rarer base items from older content, be sure to do that now. Even if you don't need it right now, keep them stored and ready for a day when you will need them, because otherwise they won't be there, and that will be a problem for you. And again, you'll have to reconsider your base theme options. My final tip when making a base is, especially if you're doing a base tour and it's themed around a particular seasonal or particular time of year, is be realistic in your expectations for getting certain base items. And by that I mean, don't try and chase after a particular base item very late on. So for example, this base, Aroma Temple, is an amazing base I did. It was worth the wait. It's one of my best bases I've ever done, I think. I really enjoyed working on this. The colours go really well together. Amazing base I did. The problem is that it was uploaded in early July. It was meant to be a spring base, and the reason for this is I was too busy farming base items that I didn't have, and it took a while to get hold of them. For example, these study bookcases took a while to get. I didn't get these until quite late on, because these only dropped from like Demon's Plan Alert and content like that, and at the time we didn't have the library base items from Justice League Dark. This was uploaded just before Teen Titans came out, so it was really hard to get hold of these particular base items. Same with the red sealing scrolls like these. They were very rare to get hold of as well. You get them from the loot boxes, the normal marks of source mark boxes you get from the episode vendors. So if you're getting like the sealing base item box, you have a chance for these to drop, and they're really cool and they're really pretty, and they go with a lot of different colours. So if you're going for a particular colour scheme, they really suit very well. Another base I had trouble with getting as well was the cathedral windows. The cathedral windows drop quite rarely from like Desecrated Cathedral Alert and Unholy Matrimony Raid and the Flash Museum Burglary Duo, content like that. I had a lot of trouble trying to get these particular base items because they're really rare and I needed quite a few of them. They're really rare, I needed quite a few of them, and it was very ambitious. So this was one of those bases where I was lucky to finish when I did, but at the same time it should have been uploaded to end of May, not early July. It took way too long to finish. So definitely plan your bases out. If you've got a deadline, be very careful about that. Make sure you're farming content in advance to get those base items that you may or may not need in the future, because otherwise, especially on the EU server, you might find yourself a bit stuck with base ideas. Another example is a base I did recently called Dusk Pagoda. I did that on Emperor Title. This was my third Halloween base, I think. I barely uploaded it on the 31st of October on Halloween itself. I was nearly late, and I had to make a lot of sacrifices with this particular base. I really wanted to make, I really wanted my other base like this, but I just couldn't get hold of them in time. And the base tour video itself, it was okay, but I missed out a lot of the details. There was a lot of amenities within the shed entrances. There was a lot of things I missed out. I wish I didn't miss out, but I really wanted to meet that deadline of 31st October. So if you're doing a base and you're trying to meet a particular deadline because of a specific event that is themed around, be very careful, because you may miss the event altogether, and then you might have to put your base off for another year or so, or you might have to upload it late, as like belated. Aroma Temple here, this was very much a belated spring base. It was worth the wait, but it was belated, so just be careful with making sure that you are being realistic with your expectations and your deadlines with bases, if you're someone like myself who uploads base source quite often. A really important point when you're trying to create a base, don't be too ambitious. By that I mean, first of all, work with the base item limit that you have. You only have 500 base items you can place in a base. So bear that in mind, especially if you're going to do a base in an Atlantean or a Brainiac lair theme, because there's an extra room in there and it's quite a lot of there's quite a lot of room to put that amount of base items into. So make sure that you can fill the base up and you don't end up with certain areas left out. The other part of not being too ambitious is make sure that you set yourself expectations in the regard of what base items there are. Obviously there's lots of huge base items that works really well, and that will help out your memory, and you can use that extra memory for other base items later on. So that's something to consider as well. There's a lot of very big technical base items, particularly from the anniversary event, which I'll get onto in a minute. But if you see here, for example, I'm in what was meant to be my summer base. This was meant to be my summer base this year. This didn't quite happen as I thought it would, and the reason being is that it's a huge lair theme, this Atlantean theme. It's amazing, it's beautiful, but it's big, and because it's big, there's a lot you have to consider with trying to fill it up. So obviously, because of the theme of it, there's not a lot of huge base items that you can place in this compared to the tech themes. So if you don't have the base items there ready, then you're going to struggle, or you're going to have to sacrifice quality of some parts of your base. So always be realistic. If you feel that you're not going to finish the base, then put it on hold for a little while longer. As you can see here, this is not quite finished. There's a few areas that are blank, and this is just one room. So if I go to a different part of the base, as you can see, I did spend quite some time working on this. It didn't work out. Like if I go here, it's pretty empty, but then if I look at how much base items I've used just from these particular areas, I'm already on quite a lot of base items. So if I go to my decorator, I'm already on 499 base items. I've nearly finished the base, right? So I've done this area, I've done this area, I've got a bit here, I've got a bit up here, but then down here I've got virtually nothing. I just didn't get around to it, so it just didn't work out. So this is a base that's pretty much on hold for now. I may or may not ever finish it. It depends on whether A, they finish the base, they up the base item limit for this particular base at least, or B, if there are bigger base items in the future that I can place that can free up memory a bit better, so I can put other base items out. So at the moment this is still in development. It may never be finished. I would love to finish it. It would be a really awesome base if I could, but at the moment it's just not feasible with the amount of base item limit there is for this particular lair theme. On the point of being not too ambitious about bases, there are exceptions. It depends on what theme you're going for. For example, this is a base I'm working on at the moment. It's not quite finished yet. It'll probably be finished early next year. This is a base I've been wanting to do for quite some time. It kind of culminates the finale of LQ's kind of lab and tech theme bases. Obviously, as you see, there's some blanks. There's things I still need to do with it. But as you can see, the starfield windows which you got from the latest time capsule, they're amazing, and I managed to get quite a few of those. So all my basics, like it's in space, quite literally, with like galaxies and multiverse. There, it's really suiting for my main. But okay, this is still a work in progress. I've still got like maybe another 100 base items to place, but I've already got quite a lot here that's been done. The only area that's a bit blank at the moment is the bottom area, but again, if you look at how big these base items are, the Panopticon Wire Pillar, the large ones you get from the Earth 3 Elite raids, or the Coda 1 stuff you get from the anniversary event, it's pretty likely I'm going to finish this base, and it will probably be done, like I say, in January sometime maybe. There might be some changes from where it is at the moment, but like I say, sometimes you can afford to be ambitious depending on the base items that are there available to you. Again, it comes down to, don't expect base items to suddenly appear in the game and work with the base item that you've got, especially in those larger base themes that you have. So this is a Brainiac layer theme. This is a similar size to the Atlantis one I just showed you. This looks like it's going to be finished, and I'll be able to upload that and show you its final version. But I'm really pleased with how this is coming on. But yeah, my overall point is don't be too ambitious with bases, because you never know what may happen or what may not happen with them. When you are thinking of doing a base tour for your base and you actually are going to upload it to YouTube, be sure to make sure that the beginning room of your base, the area where you're first going to start, really sets up the rest of your base very well. Think of it like you're a writer and you're telling a story through your base. You've got a beginning, middle and end. You want that beginning part to be gripping your viewers from the get-go. Chances are, on your YouTube, a lot of the traffic for your video is going to be from the beginning part of your base. So if it's not that great, or it's mediocre, or it doesn't set up the rest of the base very well, then you're not going to get as much attention as you would with a different kind of base. So if your best parts of the base are later on in the base, that might work against you. So be sure to make sure your beginning area really stands out and it really sets up your base really well. Prime example from one of my bases is Black Castle. You would have seen this Aliena touring this back in 2016 again. Obviously there's been some changes, as I said. Obviously there's different rules now because I updated it. But with this particular base, the beginning area really set up the rest of the base really well. You had the hallways with the Art Deco, you had the dark Art Deco columns and the ceiling sculptures, which really set up the base really well. It looked like a Black Castle, and that's kind of what you want to go for with your base. You want it to match the title of your base. You want the beginning area to really grip your viewers from the get-go, and then you want to continue that level of quality throughout your base. Again, it's like telling a story. So this is the beginning of the story, you work through the base, and then you get to the end and you've got a full kind of like story through your base, with beginning, middle and end. So be sure to bear that in mind if you're doing a base tour in the future. It's quite helpful, and it just adds a little bit of dimension to your base as well. So overall, it's rewarding. If you like base decorating, this is definitely something you should consider. These are definitely tips you can consider. And I hope you enjoyed listening to this and watching this video. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peeks you had at my future bases. These will be coming out in the next year, and I will see you in game as always. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.